each one of us always has a dark cloud hanging over our heads. Sometimes it's a cloud of insecurity. It's a cloud of all sorts of things that you were never told you'd be. Like you'd never be like your brother. You'd never be as good as your sister. You'll never be as better as your cousin. You'll never be as whatever metric was used to measure excellence. And so growing up, the only measure of excellence for you, the only way you'd ever get validation that you've done better, was doing better than your cousin, trying to do better than your sister, trying to outshine whoever it is that was used to measure excellence. And even as you grew, you never outgrew that measure of excellence. In anything you do, you'd always ask yourself, what would so-and-so be doing? What would my cousin be doing? What would my sister be doing? What would my brother be doing? So if I wanted my parent to see that I've done better, all I have to do is try to be better than him or try to be better than her. That is the farthest that the measurement ever went, which means that the standards that was used to help you understand what excellence meant was to be better than an individual, a specific person. Not that every step meant something, that it doesn't matter how fast you are, there would always be somebody who ran faster. And so all you have to do is to be comfortable with knowing that you've given your best in running. It doesn't matter how smart you are, there would always be somebody more smarter than you. And thus, all you had to do was to ensure that you had enough information for you to be able to act and know within yourself that you did the best that you could with what you have to get the best of the outcome. That is all that mattered at that time. But when the yardstick is too short, when they use a metric that measures excellence in a very specific way, such that there is no specific outcome expected, if there's nothing that helps you to grow every step, all you have to do is to meet this particular standard, after which you don't have to do much, after which you don't need to work as hard. There'll never be anything working towards, there'll never be anything bigger in life you have to pursue. All you have to do is to be better than him or her. All you have to do is to outshine whoever it is that was used as an example to you. And even as you grow up, sometimes you never outgrow it. When you go to our parents, you expect them to do this, which they never do. When you're growing up, you expect your parents to say, I'm proud of you because you've done this, but they would never show that. You expect your parents to say that, I understand that you've worked hard to get where you are, and now know that you measure up, know that you are good enough, know that you are okay, that I'm proud of what you've done. Doesn't matter how hard you work, you may never hear that from the person who you expect to hear that from, because their validation means something, because their acceptance of your effort means something, their seeing you go this far means something. But when they don't, then at times it begs the question, am I the problem, or will I never be enough? It doesn't matter how hard you work, you will never be enough. It doesn't matter how fast you run, you'll never be as fast as, because them defeating you would mean that you're not enough and they are better than you. But you defeating them or you being better than them would never attract as enough attention, as enough validation, as enough acceptance that truly you have reached where I had hoped that you'd get to. And so when we raise our kids at times, we use a very short yardstick. We use a very definite expected outcome. We use a very small measurement that we don't help our kids to dream. We don't help our kids to see far. We don't help our kids to think big. That when they have a challenge that expects them to think out of the box, when they get to a challenge that expects them to be themselves, sometimes being themselves meant that they'll never be as better as somebody else is. And so that is the only thing they'll ever associate being better than, being authentic as. That is the only thing they'll ever associate being authentic to. That is the only thing they'll ever relate being honest with. So sometimes all we need to do is to accept that we messed up. Sometimes you have to agree that it doesn't matter how much you love our parents, there's a place where they made a mistake. They took a wrong turn. They were not as gentle with us as they ought to have been. And now that we know better, maybe we can correct that with our children. Sometimes you need to accept that it doesn't matter how much we love our parents, how much we care about them. It doesn't matter how much little they had. They tried to do the best that they could with what they had. But maybe they never tried hard enough. Maybe there's more that they would have done. Sometimes you just have to think.